Alright, my name is Marineau, and this is my final concept application on relationship analysis. For this project, I chose my best friend Jason Bryant. We had met at an Honor Society field trip in middle school on our way to a Honor Society meeting. We instantly clicked and have been best friends since. However, that wasn't instantaneous. There was a development, as we'll learn later. This relationship has been going on for roughly 9 years. Throughout high school, we participated in similar sports and other events and activities, and we've maintained contact during and soon to be after college. Depth had decreased while breadth of communication also decreased and increased. They were both variable at points, and I think it'll be important to go over that as well later. So following Knapp's stages, our relationship initiated when we were forced to sit by one another, next to each other, on a bus to a field trip, an Honor Society field trip. At first, we just started getting to know each other, the normal exchanging names and such. And then it quickly developed into the experimenting phase, where we began to express our similar interests in activities such as track and field at the time, in addition to other sports and activities, as I said. This then changed into the integrating phase by the time of high school, because we had met in the 8th grade and then soon thereafter moved to high school. By the time this happened, we had a similar friend group and participated in similar daily activities. Our interdependence had seemingly increased. For instance, we were doing wrestling in the winter. I did tennis in the fall while he did football. However, we did wrestling in the winter and then track and field in the spring, in addition to hanging out and having similar classes as well. For the bonding phase of this, there's seemingly no major public ritual or anything like that. However, I believe somebody at one point in time posted something on Instagram of us hanging out, so I guess that could be considered a public display. And besides this, we've never had a falling out, and the friendship had progressed rapidly and maintained. So there has been no differentiation. We've never had a disagreement in that sense. It's rather just stayed maintaining at the bonding stage. So that's not to say that there aren't dialectical tensions in this relationship. However, for instance, I will base the premise of this section on our change into college. So I was choosing between going to SBU or UW. Obviously, I went to SBU, and he ended up going over to UW. And at this point in time, our connection and autonomy, there was dialectical tensions involved with that. Not that either of us were dependent upon each other. However, things did have to change with the shift in priorities and such. We managed this by collaboration to figure out how we could alter our communication and alter our availabilities and stuff, because another thing was this was during COVID when there was lockdown, so we simply could not have each other over to he couldn't come to SPU, neither could I go to his fraternity because he joined a fraternity down there too. So ultimately this altered the frequency at which we communicated, and it also altered some of the aspects of breadth. For instance, the variety of behaviors remained the same. When we hung out, we did the same things, or not really, but we displayed the same behaviors. The variety of topics we discussed increased as there was unprecedented times. There were new topics to be explored, such as his time in the fraternity, in addition to my time at SPU, and what we had going on. And this was fairly true for the entirety of college. Then the variety of settings in which interactions occurred did increase, because once restrictions had settled down, we were doing more things at different places and such, even though the frequency still remained relatively low, simply because of being busy and whatnot. Another dialectical tension we had come across, potentially, was the openness-closeness. Interestingly enough, this was ultimately just it was no big deal, and was resolved with, honestly, just avoidance. I have noticed, not in a bad sense in the slightest bit, but they're rather, I think it's a fraternity thing, and not in a bad way. They're just more secretive. Like, I remember I asked what they did, or what he had for dinner. He said steak and lobster. I was like, oh, that's so good. And I asked him what he had for breakfast another day. He was like, steak and lobster. I'm like, wait, no, you didn't. And I guess the running thing is they just tell everybody that they have steak and lobster. I don't know why or what it is for them. But I also think, kind of just signified, he's doing his own thing over there. I'm doing my own thing over there too, so that's kind of I'm doing my own thing over at school. So it's kind of just an openness, closeness, like kind of altered the framework of future conversations, in addition to creating an implicit contract. It's just something, I guess, we just didn't seemingly dive into too deeply. For the food aspect, I guess, too, but it could be applied to other things and whatnot, I guess. And then the level of satisfaction, I believe, always just remained high. We were always having fun, and there's never any major altercations. I do think, however, with this summer coming up, there will potentially need to be some changes. So last slide was mainly about college. Now I guess I kind of am bringing this slide to a more present sense, and speaking towards the changes that will probably occur during the summer, since he'll be back in the area of Redmond, where we are, and I will be too. He won't be as busy with his work and stuff over at school. However, I will be spending the summer working and studying for the MCAT. So this is a connection and autonomy. There's a connection and autonomy aspect to this, and which we've already discussed before, because he, was talking about, oh, I'm so excited to go to the lake and do this and that during the summer. I'm like, yeah, that'll be awesome, but I'm not going to be able to do that too much because I'll be studying and such. And so yeah, that's a kind of connection autonomy. I need to be able to do these other things. Not to say that he doesn't work too and is busy too, but I'm fairly confident that I will find myself with very little time this summer. So future prediction, the breadth will remain the same while depth maintains a similar level to that of college, primarily just because I'll probably be the same amount of busyness, if not more, and that's okay. I believe this can also alter, it can alter communication. However, I don't believe that there's any major need for any alteration of communication. I think seemingly there could be an addition of implicit contracting. Jason would understand, or just think to himself, oh, he'll be studying for the most part during the week. Maybe we can do something on a Sunday, as there will be weekly tests on Saturday, weekly practice tests. So ultimately, it just encompasses the changes of post-college life, I guess, and we shall see what that develops into. And then here's a reference for the image that I had earlier. Thank you for listening.